Oh boy, Sony, you just know how to take away a good thing, don't you? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Game Changer Podcast. I am NateFNGreat, and this is my review for Venom, Let There Be Carnage. And boy, do I have a lot to say about this movie. So, I want to state on the record, that I do love, I don't know if I'd say love, I really like, there we go. I really like the first Venom movie because it was already going to be better than the last time that we saw Venom was on Spider-Man 3, because I still refuse to say that Topher Grace was anything less than a joke in that role. He did not fit the Eddie Brock that I was envisioning. He's still not the Eddie Brock that I would envision, and we had Venom for about, I wouldn't even say, it felt like 5 minutes, if even, in the third Spider-Man movie, and I've definitely warmed up to the Spider-Man 3 movie more. I still don't like the whole, emo Peter thing. Like I said, I don't like how they did Venom wrong, and unfortunately, it kind of feels like history is repeating itself with this movie. As far as, Venom itself, I liked how they made the symbiote Venom, kind of this controlling being, because that was what Venom was. He was a controlling symbiote that didn't necessarily know, a lot of the Earth logic, and this Eddie Brock, he had to introduce Venom into the world that he was a part of, stating that, you can't eat everybody. You can't just, kill everybody. There are good people and there are bad people in this world. And I thought that by the time we reached the end of the movie, that was kind of the role, kind of what the direction that they were going with some of these, where it would be more, Venom taking a little bit of control and having Eddie kind of fight a bit with that. Venom was always going to have, more control over the body than maybe Eddie Brock kind of deals. Maybe he'll affect Eddie more to get more confident. We kind of see that in this movie. But let's get right into it. The movie itself, I am 50-50 with, because there's a lot of things I like about it, and there's also a lot of things I do not like about it. It is kind of one of those movies that is like a buddy cop kind of deal, where you have, of course, the relationship kind of quote-unquote built in the movie, then they have a big fight, they separate, then they reunite for the big climax. I think that was a dumb move, in my opinion, for this movie, because I think that they could have separated for a better reason than just be... oh my gosh. So, maybe I should go into more of the things that I liked about this and then talk about all the things I did not like about this movie. So, Woody Harrelson playing Cletus Cassidy, I really liked. I liked when he got, the way that he got the symbiote was definitely different from what I've seen. And to be honest, the Carnage symbiote was something that really, really impressed me. He definitely did seem like the Carnage in the cartoons, but just more graphic and more deadly. He definitely played that role very well. I was not expecting them to take the actress from the Pirates of the Caribbean movie and put her into this age. She looks completely different from what I've seen before. I was at first kind of against the idea of Cletus Cassidy having any kind of relationship that made him more human, because obviously Cletus Cassidy, he murdered people, he killed people, he doesn't deserve to have any kind of sympathy towards him. But it is also one of those things where we have to remember that even the worst of killers are still have a little bit of human inside, even if it's just severely tucked inside. So it is kind of one of those things where I've gotten over that part. I think that was just something that I would have overreacted about. I still love seeing Venom whenever he was on screen, and I will definitely tell you that I was not really big on how they made Venom out to be, but I'm going to get to that a little bit. I still love seeing Venom. He's one of my all-time favorite Marvel villains. Now anti-heroes, I guess you could say. I do like a bit of the relationship that they have with Ben and Michelle Williams' character. I think that it's kind of one of those things where it's really weird because you have a lot of these great actresses like Michelle Williams, like Rachel McAdams, that are in these kind of movies, and they're just kind of more tucked away when they could be doing so much more. I actually shouldn't say that. I feel like Rachel McAdams is definitely more tucked away. Michelle just is one of those women who is more featured in a lot of these movies than you can imagine. So I think that she still does like an okay kind of role in there. She's definitely kind of there, but I feel like somehow her character and Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock character are going to end up together in the end. All right, so those are some of the things I did like about it. The action sequences and the big fight at the end, loved that. I really loved what they did there. It was just absolutely great. Just a lot of really good. Man, that final fight sequence where they're just trying to outdo each other. It's crazy to kind of watch that and think, wow, this is a great, this would be a great film if it weren't for the other 50%. So somehow between the first movie and the second movie, Venom is more emotional, which I was not a fan of. It was one of those things where he was just kind of like that whiny little sibling that you would have, where it's like, take me here, do this for me, you never do this, and blah, blah. Just, I hated that. I hated that so much. I hated that they put so much emotion into him. I found it even creepier when there came a moment where Michelle Williams' character and Venom had a moment where Michelle just starts like, quote unquote, hitting on Venom, but obviously she's trying to get him to go back to Eddie Brock. It's just so weird because it's like you have an alien and he's getting quote unquote turned on by a human woman. It's funny, but it's also one of those things where it's weird for me. I think that the Eddie Brock this time around definitely looked more like a prick, which I can definitely kind of get behind. I think there were just some moments where he was just making really stupid decisions, which obviously did, kind of bite him in the ass, got the majority of it. The idea of Venom, needing to have brains to survive, it's interesting because you remember like his first big scene where he's just saying, eyes, lungs, pancreas, so many snacks, so little time. It's one of those things where it's like, why is it just only focused on brains? Is Venom a symbiote? Or is he a zombie? What? And another thing I didn't like was the whole deal where it's like, oh, he's only eating chickens. It's stupid because if you want to have, brains and big fatty kind of deals to soothe the symbiote, why not go after some bigger animals like pigs or cows or something like that? And I can understand, it's a big city. they wouldn't be able to find stuff like that. How is it that they were able to find chickens and they couldn't find other animals that Venom could devour on? It just did not make that much sense with me. I was just not big on the times where, Venom had these kind of like emotional kind of quote unquote moments. I believe that he goes to a rave where it is definitely a lot of, people that are, coming out, and he basically puts on this like weird little speech where he's basically talking about how Venom is, Venom is their own person, and that, Eddie tried to hold me back and everything like that. And then he goes into the next scene and he's just like, oh, I miss Eddie. It's like, this is stupid. No. This is not something that Venom would do. I understand it's not the same Venom that we've had in the comic books, but at the same time, you gotta give the guy more credibility. You really do. It just, that just aggravated me. And then there's also this police officer that's involved where I feel like he was the main cop in The Mask. He was just kind of there to kind of feel everything out. And it was just weird seeing that. He's not even that memorable of a character, in my opinion. Again, I didn't like that they tried to humanize, Cleese Cassidy so much, because he's supposed to be this main villain, but Woody Harrelson plays the role so well. I do love that. One of the things that was just the major letdown of this entire deal is they did Carnage so dirty in the end. The final fight scene happens. We see both of them basically getting out of their, symbiote suits. Then Venom is able to, reattach to Eddie Brock. Oh, jeez, that scene too, where they have like a pep talk between the two of them, and they're basically saying like, oh, well, they're bonded, but we're bonded even more. We're like bonded at the hip, even though you just were separated. That made absolutely no sense. It was just one of those things where it's like, you can't recreate a moment like in Spider-Man where Peter Parker is buried in rubble and he basically has to prove himself that he is a superhero with or without the suit. That was something where they built up to that. But this one just kind of came out of nowhere. It was so aggravating to watch. But going back to the thought again, of Carnage being done dirty, it was done in the worst way possible because he munches on the symbiote that has Carnage, and then it's a situation where Eddie and Cletus Cassidy, they have kind of like a face-to-face kind of deal where, they talk about, why they do these things and blah, blah, blah. In the end, it's just like Venom just goes, fuck this guy, and just munches on his head, and that's it. No more Carnage. I thought, what? No. Just no. You could have had him locked up, and you could have had him for a future Venom movie. But no, you did the same thing you did with Spider-Man 3. He's only there for a little while. Yes, he's just made as this huge threat, but you barely did anything with him. You just scratched the surface with Carnage. That was bad. It was like half of it was on this relationship between Eddie and Venom, and then maybe half, if not 25%, was focused on the deal with, Carnage and Cletus Cassidy, which in all honesty, again, another thing I really liked was that there came a point where Carnage was just taking over and Cassidy was trying so hard to, fight the fact that he wanted to kill, Cletus Cassidy's girlfriend. So I thought, okay, there you go. Now you see a lot more of that conflict that I liked in the first movie. You had that. it's just one of those things where one is just a power-hungry being. The other one is a human that does not have a full grasp of what he has. That's just what makes the symbiotes great, what makes them fun, what makes them even more interesting. But what do I know? I really hated that they did Carnage dirty like that, because, like I said, if they would have just had Cletus Cassidy be, taken away to jail, he's gone for a while, maybe they could have tied in something like, if they would have tied in a deal where you had Mordo come in, and it would have been one of those things where he could, change back time to bring back the Carnage symbiote to give it to Cletus Cassidy. That would have been great, but I don't know the relationship yet between Sony and Disney yet. But I will say that it is a strong hankering that they're going to do some more crossover stuff with them very soon, because the mid-credit scene, it's not a complete end credit scene, it's a mid-credit scene where there's a moment where it seems like the universe changes, and we see Venom looking at the TV, and he sees Peter Parker, and he just licks the TV like, that guy. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh man, I'm looking forward to seeing how this works, but I'm also very hesitant to see what they do with Venom, because, oh gosh, they've made him into just the biggest of pansies. I'm sorry. I really love Venom, but I'm really starting to hate some of these things that they're doing with him. He's a badass. He's supposed to be a badass. And what you're doing to him is you're making him this random deal just where he's being emotional, where he's being a crybaby. It's like, no, this is not the Venom that I envisioned. Damn it all. So, in all honesty, it's one of those movies where it's worth seeing, to see Carnage, to see the big battle, but you are going to get one of those sequels that just could not hold a candle to the original. I'm sorry. I really do like the first one better, because that was before they had all these random things that they want to connect, and they had the big speech scene. It was just very tough to watch. And again, they did Carnage dirty. So, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. It was a chaotic movie. It was also a bit of a disappointment. In the end, though, I'm glad that I at least got the chance to see it, because it makes me question where Sony's going to be going nowadays. Oh boy, Disney, just buy Sony, get the rights to Venom, and just give Venom that badass character again. Gosh, I just need that. I only need that.